Ago. And Pendleton, one of the several rodeos across the country that was not able to happen. Now, having lived in Pendleton, Oregon for a long time, I can tell you the Pendleton Roundup is the major fundraising event for most of the community organizations in town. The concession stands, the people who are selling food and drinks and everything else at the Pendleton Roundup, those are all charitable organizations. Everything from the cheerleaders to the swim team to the Rotary Club, they're all involved. Well, the Pendleton Roundup figured out a way to let those people continue even though their rodeo did not happen a year ago. Let's learn a little bit more about something called the Letterbuck Cares Foundation that was set up last year in the middle of COVID-19.
To talk about Letterbuck Cares, you'd almost have to start at the beginning of 2020 in January. You know, obviously we were preparing for a normal year, and then kind of March rolled around, and just like the rest of the world, things weren't as normal around here. Some lockdowns started to happen. Businesses had to close their doors per the mandates, and right away, Randy and I and our boards kind of moved into how are we going to be able to do this? We started to think, how can we help those people? And I think that's when we figured out we need to surround ourselves with people smarter than us. And so we put together a committee, and they darn sure figured it out. They came up with the Letterbuck Cares Fund.
And realizing that our economic impact is $50+ million to this community for 10 days plus or minus Roundup. So it's huge, but there's some iconic businesses, whether it's Hamley's, Semioti's, there's just some big businesses in this community, or maybe not big, but that are
big for us.
Yeah, big for us, that are icons to this community, that not having an event is a lot to their bottom line. I mean, there's a lot of businesses that readily admit that more than 50% of their income comes in just a couple of weeks around those 2 weeks of September, that second week of September. So calling Tanner and saying, you know, we're not gonna have an event, but we gotta do something. There has to be a way that we can figure out that we can. I spoke with Tom Hersig at Cheyenne. I talked to James Miller at Red Bluff of what they were doing in their communities. And they were doing similar things with their tickets. So you can take your 2020 tickets and roll them into 2021, or you can take the value of those tickets, roll them into Letterbuck Cares, or you can do a mix of both, of keep your tickets for 2021 event and donate. So we just, we put that committee together and then moved through it and started getting the funds in. And then, you know, it was just on notepads on how we were going to support the community, how we're going to break down the tiers, who was going to be, you know, we broke it up into 3 tiers of kind of home plate of Roundup at Happy Canyon Central, of who was affected nonprofits, and then started growing that bubble out. And then, like I said, in a couple, 2.5 months, 3 months, we raised over $300,000, and then said, you know, let's shoot for the moon. So we set our sights on $1 million by December 31st, and I think we were about $70,000 or $80,000 short of that. So very proud of our community, very proud of our volunteers, our ticket holders, our sponsors. You know, we had Pendleton Whiskey do that fun challenge where you could raise a glass and support Letterbuck Cares, and they donated $1 to it. Pendleton Whiskey gave us $150,000 that went to our community. Very appreciative of them. Coca-Cola, Banner Bank. I mean, there was so many communities, or so many community members that stepped up that I'm just so thankful and proud of.
Thanks to the American Hat Company for the American Hat Company's Positive Times moment. The Letterbuck Cares Fund last year, initially, the East Oregonian has a story I went back and found from last year, was that we're able to make grants to 35 different community organizations, plus helping out all the businesses in town. It was a great success.